Good morning, everyone. Virgo Triad here. It is March 20th, 2018. This month is just flying by. It's unbelievable. I wanted to take a few minutes to give you guys some information, being that it is tax season right now. We're right into the heaviest part of tax season, as a matter of fact. And being that we have a little less than a month to get together all of our paperwork and file it with the Internal Revenue Service as of April 15th, I wanted to speak to you, to those of you that might have a need for what is called an internal individual master file. The IRS's individual master file is something that you're capable of getting yourself. What it does is it provides to you with every single transaction that's ever taken place that the IRS has initiated or that anyone has initiated upon you through the IRS. A lot of people will use the individual master file for themselves when they are in the process of an audit. As a matter of fact, it's something that tax attorneys will most frequently obtain for the purpose of finding out what transactions have been turned into the IRS, what transactions have been done through the IRS and by the IRS. So for those of you that were wondering whether or not you could actually get any kind of information or report on what the IRS has seen transpire throughout your lifetime, as you have filed your taxes and other individuals have filed such things as W-2 forms, 1099 forms, so on and so forth. Yes, you can obtain that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and read this article that was done by legalbeagle.com. It pertains to the access of your individual master file. If you have a business, there is such a thing as a business master file in addition. That of course goes along with your EIN number, your employer identification number. So without further ado, let me go ahead and read this to you and then we'll talk just briefly about it. Those of you that it'll be particularly important to would be anybody that wants to really see what has transpired. This all actually came about because someone was questioning me as to whether or not, if these trust accounts exist, whether or not there'd be a possibility of locating a report that would give you that information. Yes, as a matter of fact, there is one. I guarantee you none of you will find anything having to do with a private trust account on them because those accounts don't exist. The other instance where this is particularly important is if you're in the middle of an audit and you're trying to find out why they're auditing you and what has been submitted. That is, again, something that tax attorneys will look to quite frequently. Another reason would be if you are attempting to mount evidence against the IRS due to a accounting error that has taken place where you feel as though you were shorted in your refund amount, or there was some form of a computer error that was done with regards to the IRS, and therefore you want to view the calculations yourself. Okay, ever wonder what exactly the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, knows about you? Anyone who's ever earned wages or paid taxes has amassed an individual master file, the IMF. The IMF contains every transaction and financial record gathered by the IRS officials throughout the course of your lifetime. The file is a resource for any curious taxpayer or anyone wanting to mount evidence against the IRS, an IRS error or audit. Locate your regional disclosure officer. Internal Revenue Service disclose officers process all public information requests. The IRS maintains 12 disclosure offices covering all 50 states. Finding your specific disclosure officer is critical. File a Freedom of Information Act request. Citizens may legally obtain information and documents that must be accessible to the public. The IRS maintains strict guidelines for public requests, so follow the instructions precisely. Now, let me interject here before anybody goes conspiracy theory wild with that statement. What that means is they're very protective of your personal information. So therefore, you are required to have the proper documentation in order to request an FOIA report where they will release your information. They must make sure that it is you to avoid any possibility of identity theft. That is all it means. Include your name and address, a copy of your driver's license, or notarized statement affirming your identity, a commitment to pay any applicable fees, and your signature. There are your 4 requester categories: commercial media, educational, or non-commercial scientific institution, and others individuals. Your business is going to show different things. Different fees apply to each category, so identify your respective designation within your request. Be specific. The individual master file comes in 2 varieties: IMF specific, IMF MCC, transcript specific. The IMF MCC transcript specific details every transaction documented by the IRS in your FOIA request. Insist that the file contain bold and legible print and ink as it is so that it is readable. Know the codes. Your transcript will contain codes that correspond to different transactions and categories. Therefore, you won't be able to decipher your file if you have no knowledge or reference material explaining each code. Go to the electronic reading room on the IRS website and search for document 6209. This annually updated reference guide contains all of the relevant codes to explain the activity on your master file transcript. Know your rights. The IRS must furnish requested items within 20 business days of original receipt. You may file an administrative appeal if your request is denied. Copying and copying and research fees are also applicable to individual requests. There are no copying charges for the first 100 pages, but 20 cents per page thereafter. There is no search fee for the first 2 hours, but $17 per hour thereafter. There are no fees if total charges are $10 or less. Okay. So there you have it. Information with regards to the individual master file for individuals. Now, if you are looking for an individual master file, or rather a business master file pertaining to the IRS, there's a whole different set of rules that you need to follow in order to make sure that your Freedom of Information Act is not declined. Remember, the main thing with a Freedom of Information Act on someone who is an individual with such sensitive information is that identity theft is not taking place. If you do not do what the instructions suggest, you are going to get turned down. The purpose of turning you down is for your own protection. So, if you want to take a look at this website so that you can get some additional information, I will leave the link under the description. In addition to that, I will leave a link for you to the PDF file that is within the IRS database, or within the IRS website themselves, that pertains to this particular database. The other thing that you're going to find within that information is there's also a way for you to get all of the laws that the IRS has actually ever had. So if you wanted to do some real serious research on the different tax laws that have been around throughout the years, there is information on how to obtain that in addition. None of this stuff is hidden, folks. None of it. It's all out in the open, meaning that when you get a individual master file on yourself, you're going to see, provided that you look up the codes as suggested, every single transaction that's ever taken place on your personal file. Again, another scenario where if you're buying in to this A for V process stuff, if you're buying in to this trust account lie, you're going to look at this file and you're not going to find what you think should be there, because it doesn't exist. However, what you will have is a copy of every transaction that's ever taken place, be it by an employer or a private party providing a 1099, 1099-Cs provided by creditors will be there. Anything that the IRS would have ever had on you is within your individual master file. If you are in the process of being audited, I would absolutely suggest that you get your individual master file from the IRS. If you are in the process of dealing with a problem that you feel the IRS actually did a miscalculation on your return, I would suggest that you get your individual master file. So here's just some information that you might not be aware of that you're capable of getting. It does fall into the category of the Freedom of Information Act. You will be required to provide proof of identity. If you cannot provide those things with a government ID, you will not be granted access. Okay? They have to absolutely know that they are dealing with the party that is legally allowed to see these things. So therefore, you're going to be required to have a government furnished ID. All right, you guys, I hope this helps. And if you have any questions with regard to it, please feel free to leave it in the comments or send me an email at virgotriad@protonmail.com. And everybody have a great day. Bye-bye.